Today's show is brought to you by Audible. Visit drjoelwade.com, scroll down, and click the Audible banner to get 2 free audiobooks and start your free Audible trial today.
You are now listening to the Mastering Happiness podcast with Dr. Joel Wade.
John McEnroe was one of the most successful tennis players in history. He also hated playing tennis. Let's find out why and what you can do to avoid this trap. This is Joel Wade, and welcome to my podcast. John McEnroe was the number 1 tennis player in the world for 4 years, but what many of us may remember most about him was his temper. He'd yell at the referees, he'd yell at his agent. When he didn't do well, it was always somebody else's fault. He was incredibly talented, but his belief about his abilities was that he was born with them. He didn't earn them. And because he didn't think he had earned them, he also didn't think he could grow them. In a sense, he was helpless, at the mercy of however well he played based on the luck of his birth. This mindset drained the joy and fun out of the game for him, and made it into a grueling, painful experience. Having won a tournament felt great for a time, but playing in it, and what he had to go through in order to win it, was a miserable experience. This is what psychologist and researcher Carol Dweck, author of the book Mindset, calls a fixed trait mindset, and it creates a huge barrier for our ability to face challenges, grow from our experiences, enjoy what we do, and lean into an expansive life well lived. Fortunately for us, it's also one of the things that we can change with practice. In contrast, Michael Jordan was one of the greatest athletes in the history of his sport of basketball. But he wasn't a natural like McEnroe. Jordan was one of the hardest working athletes in sports because he wasn't a natural. Here's what he said. "I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." He succeeded because he didn't just suffer from his failures, he learned from them. Because of that, even with all the challenges and failures, Michael Jordan loved playing basketball. And unlike McEnroe, it's not his emotional reactions that people remember. It's his magnificent skill as a basketball player. He took responsibility for his failures and successes, and he was able to grow and improve through all of them. These are qualities of someone with what Dweck calls a growth mindset, an attitude toward life's challenges and opportunities where it's our effort, focus, and perseverance that determine how well we do. When we think of ourselves using such statements as, "I'm intelligent," or "I'm talented," or "I'm a failure," we're thinking of ourselves in terms of fixed traits. These are qualities that don't change much, if at all, similar to our eye color, height, or other genetic qualities. We don't earn traits, we come into the world with them. There's a big problem with thinking of our abilities and actions, or those of others, in terms of fixed traits, because it creates an illusion that they are by definition not changeable. This makes it torturous to try to learn, grow, and improve. In research done by Dweck and others, they found that kids who thought of themselves in terms of fixed traits give up easily when faced with challenge, and have a hard time bouncing back from adversity or defeat. And it is an illusion. While our height, eye color, and other physical features are certainly what we come into the world with, what we do with what we're given is not predetermined. We can have aptitudes, certainly. We can be drawn toward and interested in certain ideas or activities, and not others. But we will never master something without plenty of hard work and devotion. Growing up, if you're told how smart you are, how talented you are, how gifted you are, and such traits are the main focus of praise for you, then what happens when you fail a test? You shouldn't fail a test. In fact, you should never do anything but grade on a test. After all, you're brilliant and talented, a real natural at these things. When a child is evaluated in terms of such fixed positive traits, there isn't much room for improvement. You either do well and live up to your evaluation, or if you fail, that failure undermines the positive evaluation of your traits. How can you be brilliant and do poorly? There must have been a mistake in the positive evaluation. In this way, a person's positive self-concept can become fragile, determined primarily by how well he or she lives up to the expectations they've been saddled with. When there is failure, there isn't much room for improvement either. Failure is not a verb to a person with a fixed trait mindset. Failure is something that you are. A child with a fixed trait mindset that has a setback or failure doesn't experience it as a failure of action. He experiences it as a failure of character, an overwhelming defeat at a fundamental level. A fixed trait mindset is a helpless mindset. It leaves little room for positive action to improve because you either are or you aren't brilliant, talented, intelligent, etc. This is a setup for a kid to become an underachiever because with a fixed trait mindset, beyond easy tasks, they tend not to enjoy what they do, lose interest, and avoid the more difficult challenges. Why would they want to tackle things they aren't pretty sure they'll do well in? If they do well, all they're doing is living up to the high expectations they've been burdened with. They're expected to be great, so by actually performing great, they don't gain anything. On the other hand, if they do poorly, or even just not so great, it can feel like a crushing blow to their self-esteem. The upside of accepting a challenge or persevering at something difficult when we have a fixed trait mindset is negligible. The downside is potentially awful. What's the alternative to a fixed trait mindset? A growth mindset. While a fixed trait mindset is static, a growth mindset is changeable and dynamic. A growth mindset focuses on what you do, not what you are. When children are praised for what they do, for the work that went into doing well on a test, or the creative effort they put into a work of art, or how well they played a piece of music, they learn that how they bring value to the world is through their effort and actions. It's not something that's static or rigid. So when something doesn't work out, it's not a statement on their existential being. It's just a skill. And improving that skill is just a matter of doing what they need to do to improve for next time. And this is exactly what children with a growth mindset do. They're more resilient, they're more likely to persevere, and they're much better able to bounce back from adversity than children with a fixed trait mindset. They're also much more likely to enjoy the process and to see a challenge as something fun and exciting, a potential to explore. A growth mindset is a problem-solving mindset. The great child psychologist Chaim Ginott made this point in his wonderful book, Between Parent and Child. He emphasized the importance of addressing the behavior, not the character of a child. If a child spills a glass of milk, you don't say, "Oh, you're so clumsy." You hand him a towel and you say, "Looks like you spilled. Here's a towel." Mindsets, however, are not just kid stuff. Adults with a growth mindset are also more likely to engage in more challenging tasks, to persevere, and to bounce back from adversity. Management teams with a growth mindset outperform those with a fixed trait mindset. People with growth mindsets make better negotiators, and managers with a growth mindset notice improvement in their employees, while those with a fixed trait mindset don't. What's also very interesting is that people with a growth mindset have a remarkably accurate assessment of their own performance and ability. Those with a fixed trait mindset have a remarkably inaccurate assessment of their own performance and ability. We can see these differences when brain waves have been measured between people with fixed trait and growth mindsets. When people in Dweck's brainwave lab were asked hard questions and then received feedback about how they did with their answers, the brain activity in people with a fixed trait mindset showed that they were only interested when they were told whether their answers were right or wrong. When they were shown how they might improve their performance in the future, they weren't interested. They weren't even interested in knowing what the right answer was when they'd gotten it wrong. In contrast, people with a growth mindset were interested in how they could improve their knowledge, and that was reflected in their increased brain activity when given the opportunity to learn more. I've been talking about these two mindsets as though we all might fit neatly into one or the other. But in practice, it's much less, fixed than that. Most of us have areas where we think of ourselves in fixed trait terms, and other areas where we have more of a growth mindset. It's likely that those areas where you're the most competent and resilient are those about which you think in terms of growth, not of fixed traits. So, here's the fun part. You can do something about this. You can change how you think about yourself and move away from a fixed trait mindset and toward a growth mindset. First of all, if you're a parent or if you have dealings with children, you can be a more positive influence if you praise them or correct them in terms of their actions and not in terms of fixed traits. Don't praise a child for how smart they are. Praise them for what they did with that intelligence. Don't correct them in fixed trait terms like clumsy or absent-minded. Identify what they did or didn't do and help them learn from their actions. Now, for your own mindsets. Notice how you talk to yourself about your successes and failures. We all have an internal voice. Listen for how you talk to yourself with it. For a time, just notice, without trying to change anything. Observe yourself in your natural habitat like a natural scientist might observe a pride of lions in the wild. Pay attention to static terms like smart or dumb, talented or bad. Notice which kinds of activities tend to bring out more fixed trait-oriented self-talk and which tend to bring out more growth-oriented self-talk. Once you have some idea of how you talk to yourself, just knowing that you can change this can make a difference in itself. Remind yourself that how you interpret challenges and criticism is a choice. You can think of them as signs that you're lacking in some fixed personal qualities, or you can look for how you can improve yourself, what you can learn or practice to gain more mastery. When you find that you're thinking of yourself in fixed trait terms, stop. Acknowledge that you're doing this, and find another way to talk about what you're doing from a growth and action-oriented perspective. Dispute the fixed trait mindset. Remind yourself that this is just a bad habit, and redirect your thinking toward movement and growth. What can you learn from this experience? How can you improve your skills here? If your fixed trait voice tells you that you don't have what it takes, you can respond to that voice from a growth mindset by saying something like, maybe I don't have what it takes right now, but I think I can learn and practice the skills to the point where I can do it well. If your fixed trait voice is telling you that it would be better not to try at all and avoid the shame of failure, you can respond by saying, there's no shame in trying my best and failing. Everybody who's ever been truly successful has had many, many failures. Some of the greatest achievements have come after a whole lot of failure. I can get better and stronger by learning from those failures. If I don't at least try, I'll never learn to do it better. If I don't at least try, I will have failed by not doing anything. If something goes wrong and your fixed trait voice is telling you it's not your fault, it's someone else's fault, deflecting responsibility to avoid the pain, you can respond by saying, wait, maybe not, but I need to look for anything I could have done differently so I can learn and improve next time. If I blame it on other people, then I'm helpless to change things for the better. If you're feeling insecure about a project you have coming up, and you find that you're telling yourself that you don't have the talent for it, think instead of what you need to do to prepare for it as best as you can. If you find yourself looking for whose fault something is, rather than how to repair the problem, shift your thinking to solving the problem instead. That should be the top priority, and that's something that you can act on. Look for the ways that you burden yourself and others with a fixed trait mindset, and seek to introduce growth, movement, and possibility into your thinking and communications. Then, actively and energetically dive into the challenge. Take setbacks as opportunities to learn and improve. Listen for both your fixed trait mindset voice and your growth mindset voice. Be patient but persistent in steering yourself more and more toward a growth mindset. As you look to develop an active, growth-oriented, and problem-solving approach to life's setbacks and opportunities, you'll be more successful, more resilient, and more delighted with the challenges of life. A Master's Course in Happiness is a monthly, in-depth program to help you actively, purposefully, and effectively live a happier, more fulfilling life. This course is designed to teach you the skills and principles that you need to bring the best you have to offer, inside and out. Over the course of 12 months, we'll explore what I've found are many of the fundamentals of living well. Through audio, video, and written material, you're supported to learn and practice specific actions each month that will strengthen you, inspire you, and enable you to lean into life more fully. These are skills and principles for self-mastery across all the circumstances and personalities I have ever worked with for nearly 4 decades, based on solid research and experience. And right now, exclusively for my listeners, you can experience the Master's Course in Happiness at a great discount. Use promo code MH1, promo in all capitals, to get this $467 course for only $295 today. Visit www.drjoelwade.com. That's drjoelwade.com now, and use promo code MH1promo to receive this amazing course for only $295. A Master's Course in Happiness is designed to give you the most powerful skills that I can offer in a course. It will give you the tools and knowledge to apply yourself fully to the mission of mastering yourself. That's www.drjoelwade.com, promo code MH1, promo, all in capitals.